Julie Fields of Wickenburg, Arizona, has been a KCM partner for over 28 years. Along with her husband, Don, she owns and operates a successful business, and together they have raised a large family. Over the years, this family has experienced blessings and significant challenges, but nothing to indicate that an unimaginable tragedy would rock their world.
In March of 2004, my precious 21-year-old son, Bret, was murdered. I just couldn't imagine this happening to my precious boy. You know, he's my son. I started praying in the Spirit. The next thing I did, after I spoke to my husband, I called my pastor. And he prayed for me instantly and said that he was going to get everybody on the prayer chain for me. The church was wonderful.
Let me ask you a little bit about your son. Was he a young man who had had trouble? Had he been in trouble? Did he run around with a rough crowd? Did you have reason to be concerned about him?
Yes, in a way I did. I have to say he had been in jail a few times. He was on a good road to recovery. He had had a drug use problem. He was over that. He was doing real well. He moved to this town where we were living and found some friends, and they were not the right choice of friends, obviously, that he thought they were.
After Bret's disappearance, a credible lead encouraged local law enforcement to work tirelessly to locate this young man. And after 3 long weeks, they found a shallow grave in the desert that covered the body of Julie's 21-year-old son. The investigation revealed that Bret had been shot and killed following a disagreement with 3 young men who were now considered suspects.
The sheriff's department did a great job. Between them and prayer, they did a great job. Within just a few days, they tracked them down in Montana, and they flew up there and found them and made the arrest. So it was very quickly, we had the 2 arrests. The 3rd young man wasn't arrested till a couple months later.
How did you feel towards these young men, Julie, when you found out what they had done to your son?
Sometimes I still have those moments where I just hit my fist on the wall. I'm like, why, Lord? I just can't take it when I think of that, you know. But every time I get to that point, and especially right after this happened, it didn't last very long at all. The Lord would be right there. He just brought this scene to me of Jesus hanging on the cross, just beaten so badly. And he spoke to my heart. He said, I know the pain of losing a son. And that just instantly comforted me. At my son's funeral, I asked the Lord, I said, I want repaid 7 times for his life. I'm asking that 7 people will accept the Lord at the funeral. Well, my pastor told me that when all the heads were bowed and eyes were closed, that 15 people raised their hands to receive the Lord. It was wonderful. And I just thought, you know, Satan's the one who took Bret. We're not going to let him get us also, you know, and he very easily could have if we would have let it. But we did. We sang a strong worship song, and I thought that's the one statement I want to make today. We are going to show the devil that no matter what happens, we will never quit worshiping. And the whole service was very victorious. When my mother first called Kenneth Copeland Ministries after this happened, they sent us some tapes and books on giving no place to the spirits of sorrow and grief. I knew that the Lord was going to take a very horrible thing and have good things come out of it. I don't think that was his perfect will for my son's life. He doesn't kill our kids. That wasn't him that did that. But my son had made some choices in his life. He had that choice. He's a sweet boy. He really was. He was a good boy. But he made some wrong decisions.
Well, recently you were forced to come face to face with dealing with one of the young men who took your son life. Tell me about that experience.
The man who actually pulled the trigger of the gun that killed my son was at a point where they were going to sentence him. He was convicted. And I went down to close to where he was standing, and I looked him right in the eyes. And I wanted to tell him a lot of bad things. But while I was up there and I looked at him, a teaching that Kenneth Copeland had done, and I had heard on tape about 10, 15 years ago, it came up in my heart, and I heard Kenneth's voice telling about when Jesus found out that John the Baptist had been murdered and beheaded. The way he retaliated against that is he went out and he healed everybody he could find. He didn't retaliate against Herod, who ordered the murder. He retaliated against Satan, the real enemy. And I looked at that young man and I thought, this is my one chance to make an eternal mark on that boy's life and to hurt the real enemy, the one who really killed my son, Satan. I said, I serve Jesus Christ. He teaches us to forgive those who hurt us. I said, I've been working for 2 years to get to this point. I'm not totally there, but almost. And I said, I want you to know that his forgiveness is there for you. He paid for that like he did all of us. I'll never forget what happened to him. I'll never forget my love for him. If anything, it grows stronger, just like as if he was here. But those spirits of sorrow and grief, oh, they can come in and you need comfort at those times, and then they're there soothing you, but there has to come a time when that season is over and to practice the joy of the Lord coming in. And he'll give it to you. He really will. I believe that when my son was killed and my tears came, I believe that God was standing right next to me, and his tears were there too. He felt the sorrow as much or more than we did. He wasn't the bad guy. It wasn't him. God's the one that wants to do the comforting and the healing through these things.